One of my biggest learnings actually doing this thing and being a founder is that there's no engine. There are engines. You crack an engine and then it fails, it breaks, and then you crack another one and it breaks. So we had a strategy, we keep adapting it, we keep growing it. But overall, we stand up for something. We've built our strategic narrative. We wrote it down. We know the pillars of content that we write about. And we know that we just want to do it as much as possible. And all the time also find ways to close the loops, to not only talk about beliefs in the future, but also tactfully bring in our product.
Gal, welcome to Tech Scenes Unplugged.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, excited to have this conversation. After my first company in college that I built and sold, I started in the sales world right away, and it was the dot-com boom. And looking back in your history, there's been a lot of sales, and I think that's probably where, for me, like process really started happening. I went to school for entrepreneurship, finance. And then I jump into this like VC-backed high growth .com era, and sitting in that sales seat, I was in a company that I think we had about 70, 80 salespeople, and I learned real quick how to be successful, and that was like sitting with other people that were actually doing it right and figuring out their process and their systems, and like, how are you closing these deals? How are you pulling the information together? Like, what are you saying to these people? Like, how are you booking your appointments? And it was just trying to figure out what the process was, and then iterate it on my side. 25 years later, I now have a process that we use with hundreds of companies called Peak, which is, aligning the leadership team, aligning around goals and, vision and plan and OKRs, KPIs, all that type of stuff. But again, it was the same kind of thing. It was like trying to pull together a process, looking at what's worked and what's not worked, and just making it easier for people. In this fast-paced world of AI and sales and all the things that are happening right now, it's such a unique time and space, but it's really interesting what you guys are doing. And definitely in the world of sales, I feel like I may have said probably like, I think it was maybe 5 years back, like, what's the role of a salesperson going to be? You know what I mean? Like, I actually thought, like, do we even need salespeople anymore? Like, where is the world going? Like, do we need salespeople anymore? So that all said, start from the top. And why don't you tell everybody what Aligned is?
Okay. And I'd love, if you want, we can go dive into that philosophical question.
Yeah, we'll go back.
Yeah,
for sure.
I can't really predict. No one can, but we're thinking about this all the time. So yeah, in a nutshell, Align is in sales tech. It's a customer facing AI workspace for the deal. So we're basically building this space where you're using AI and you're using just a better workflow to run a better sales process, not on calls, just everything that happens between calls, the follow-up, the enablement of the champion, the sharing of resources, building a business case. There are a lot of elements like mutual action plans. So we're building that environment, and it just helps reps run a more effective sales cycle, both using AI. So, agents that draft your content, create calculators, give you insights about what could go wrong now in a deal, and then they draft your email, and then they create the content and put it in a space. So both using AI and using just a better workflow. If you think about sales, selling it as buying, it's not changed for dozens of years. It's still it did change. It became more complex. It's just a lot of stakeholders sharing a lot of resources back and forth, and you need to enable a champion, enable a buyer to make a confident decision and to build consensus. And that back and forth just doesn't make sense. We're moving everything into one space. Think before Figma, you had Photoshop. Before Monday and Asana, right? You had spreadsheets where people project manage.
Right.
We're doing the same thing in sales.
At what point in the sales process does the product engage?
It just becomes that link that carries on throughout the entire cycle. So yeah, first call, you end that first call today, you basically share a bunch of case studies or things that you've discussed at the call, right? Here's a case study, here's the API documentation or whatever the customer wanted, and then that's 3 or 4 links, and then that conversation moves on, and there are more stuff being shared and more people being added to the loop, and things fall through the cracks. So yeah, from the first call, you just share one link. Hey, it was great meeting you. Here are the XYZ that we just talked about. It's in this link. Then another call goes by, you follow up maybe from within that space, that workspace, tag someone, and it all goes through email. So we are not changing buyer behavior. We have over 1 million buyers right now every month engaging in Aligned, and all of them prefer Aligned over going back to email because it just keeps things in Aligned. And you can go in, and if someone sends you an email and they ask for a proposal, you will send a link to a Panda doc, but that link sits within Aligned and it's embedded in Aligned. And they can also see calculators and other things that you've put up there to really facilitate that decision.
And I know you talk a lot about champions, buyer champions. So, I mean, which is really like someone within that company that you're really helping support to help them basically sell the product internally and share information. What do you think the top 3 things are to really create a champion?
First, not everyone can be a champion. So you need to understand who is really champion potential. So if we're talking about the characteristics of a champion, then they need to have some level of power, right? It doesn't mean that they're the ultimate decision maker. I think that term really is pretty much changing over the last 5 years or so, where it started more, but the last few years we have Gen Z buyers and flatter decision hierarchy. They're pushing more for flatter decision hierarchy. We have more stakeholders. We have the CFO on every deal. CXOs in general are more involved in approving purchases. So there's no such thing as really a sole decision maker that you're after. You're looking at someone that could really take a buying process really to the finish line and build that business case throughout the process and really be able to push internally. So the one thing is really that authority or power. Second thing that you're looking for is personal gain. Okay, they need to get something out of it, right? They either want to get promoted, they either want to make a big impression and hit their KPIs. And the third thing is just willingness to promote you, right? So they might have 1 and 2, but they might be your competitor's champion. So if they have 1 and 2 and they're championing your competitor, they're definitely not a champion for you, right?
Right.
So
yeah, I think it's interesting. And I never really thought about the idea of like your champion may not actually be your champion. You think they're your champion, but maybe they're kind of looking at the market, obviously, and looking at these other products, and they might not have you as number 1. That really changes the dynamic. It's one of those probably questions you need to ask in the sales process, right? Like, who else are you looking at, and how are you rating these other companies? I suppose that's where the calculators and those types of elements come in too, right? Really kind of help show the buying process or what they should do.
Oh, there could be other reasons why they're not championing you. It could be, that there's just the elements are just not strong enough right now for them to promote a deal, and that's why you're testing them. You're seeing how serious they are, right? So that you might been able to uncover that personal gain and understand that they have the ability to go and push things to the finish line, but they might just fought a lot of political fights, right, internally, and they're really low on political capital, or they might have a lot of other burning issues, or maybe other reasons, and they're just not showing it. They're just not championing you.
Let's go back a little bit. So
Yeah.
tell me the story of like the moment that you just decided like, hey, you know what, I need to start this company. I need to start Aligned. What was the thought process, and where were you? What was the moment when you just finally decided to take the leap?
So same as Zero was in sales at some point, but more than some point. It was actually 17 years before founding Aligned, and so it's been always the passion, and of course the challenges started there. But basically, it all started when my co-founder and I worked together at the same company. I was VP sales. He was my first and best AE. Became sales director. Got promoted over time, and as many other sales leaders, we're always really obsessed with trying to figure out what makes the difference between the top 1% of sellers that are just crushing it. And you see the gap is huge. Like you have these 200% of quota versus a 70, 50% of quota. And, you know, we were trying to really hire and replicate that behavior all the time, as we had a really complex sales motion, a 150K ACV, long sales cycle, selling to big retailers, IKEA, and Macy's of the world and everything. And one day there was this one really unique deal that you just don't see every day. It was a 440K outbound deal closed in just 90 days, start to finish, outbound. Yeah, truly unique. And the AE just, you know, ran it really flawlessly. It was just so perfect. She did everything by the book. And when that deal closed, was a Friday afternoon, and we raised the toast at the office, and we asked her, what did you do differently? And she said, it's the first time that I felt like I'm not being perceived as a seller, but like buyers see the way that I sold to them as if I'm providing a buying experience that they will actually pay for. And then kind of it hit us. We really understood that, you know, the best sellers, they just don't sell. They're just enabling buyers to buy. And there's no such thing as a complex sales process. There's only a complex buying process. And that's what the best really do. They just fix that, right? They fix the buying journey and not try to run and execute sales. So that drove the passion to research and understand. And then we saw that basically there's nothing in the tech stack that's helping reps sell. You have, at that time, you had the Outreach, SalesLoft, and a lot of and a few other companies that they were really at the front. They were building really for SDRs, like what I call today like an Ironman suit, right? Something that you put on and you just can be a better SDR. You just can shoot many more emails and even personalization at scale. But sales, nothing. You had something that tells you if someone opened your email, maybe, you know, a DocuSign, but that's just for the end of the sales process. But everything else is just reporting, is just tools for the manager. No one built for the seller. And then we saw what I told you also at the beginning. We saw that things are just more digital. There's COVID. Buying is getting more complex. Buyers are starting to even kind of prefer to self-serve over speaking with a rep. So we just understood it's the perfect time to do what Figma did and Monday did just in sales, and to improve the workflow. And by focusing on the buyer, we will help improve sales execution.
What was that moment when you guys decided to make the decision to do the company?
So I think the aha moment was that sales story.
Right.
That was when, you know, I realized what sales is really about. And then when we started looking, the dots connected. That was the idea. It was really kind of a slow research mode, but it was that idea back then, because remembering that story, right?
Yep.
Remembering that experience, because it was always kind of but we want to build a tool for sellers to make sellers better. Okay, how? Where do we approach it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you and your co-founder got together, and you had been talking about this. You saw the opportunity. What was that day though that where you were like, "We're making the move on this"? Did you guys both quit at the same time, or
Yeah,
what
so
was
it's
the
not a
process?
classic story actually. And so we worked together at that same company, and then I moved to become a CRO at another company.
Okay.
And he always had that bug. He always told me, as a rep, like, I'm building my skills. Like, sales is the best. By the way, connecting to your story earlier, he always said like sales is the best skills just to learn a startup and learn how to be a founder later on. That's the thing. That's what I want to do. That's where I want to continue building myself. And I knew, like, I liked that path. I liked sales. I liked being a manager. I liked leading and building. But I always knew that I'm so horizontal. I always had the founder mentality. As a
Yeah.
VP, like, I touched, like, I improved, I built things that are related to product strategy, and like built led a lot of projects that are really company wide, because I always had that. Okay, let's do this in marketing. Let's do this in product and like research and growth hacking and all that. So I knew for me it will come, but I didn't have that burning desire to just leave that safe place of, okay, VP, CRO. I wanted to take a company to 100 million ARR. Um, but then what happened is, while I was working as a CRO at another company called Anagogue, we were close to getting acquired. My co-founder, whose name is also Gal, by the way, he started, he kind of went out, resigned, and started thinking about building something. And from the moment that he started to think about an idea, he said, Gal, I need you here with me. Come in as an advisor, because I wasn't willing, and for sure I wasn't doing anything else. So I joined him as an advisor, like, I think a year before even the idea started. And he was
Oh wow.
looking at other ideas. Yeah. So he was searching for ideas, and I was advising him, and I was just on equity, but nothing, just advising him. And then he used a dating app to found our third founder. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, seriously. So there's a founder dating app that he found. It's like a Tinder for founders. Seriously, you're just
Okay.
swiping left and right. And then he went on a few dates, didn't like the founders until he found Yotam, our third co-founder, and then it all clicked between them. They officially built the company, and then they said, "Hey, join us. We need to start raising some the seed funding and everything."
That's a cool story. That's definitely a unique story. I always like to find. I always felt like, especially when the companies I've started up, I always felt like it's it's almost like the decision's made for you when it comes to these types of situations. That final decision for me, starting Collective Genius was felt like I was more pulled towards it, like a true calling, right? Like, there's all these different things we could do, and like I always talk, with CEOs and founders, and I'm like, there's 100 million different things we could do that are easier than doing this, but why do you actually do this? And I don't think anybody has like a super clear answer on it. I feel like kind of like called to do it versus like decided to do it at some point.
Yeah, I feel like it was probably it was the easiest, one of the easiest career decisions that I've made. It just felt so good. They started building the product. Another thing that's interesting, they started building a prototype. And I was still at that company as CRO, and I showed it to my team. Okay.
Oh wow.
And I remember the reactions. It was like they started getting more excited about that product than our own product. And I heard some voices telling me, hey, like, this is a better opportunity than what we have here. Like, it was
Yeah.
hints. They were like hinting me that this is even crazier. So yeah, I just saw, I even was able to see that. even before making that decision. So it was such an easy decision for me.
So let's switch gears a little bit. I kind of want to talk about some of the things that that you talk about often. And one of the conversations that we had earlier, and I know that you posted about this, but the idea of people not being ready for enterprise sales. Fill in the blank. You're not ready for enterprise sales because
Because you're just not ready. We're just not ready. I think that's first the majority. I think that the way that it plays out, and I've led teams that close $1 million deals. I've seen also CEOs fire half of their teams because that enterprise push has failed. And I've advised a lot of startups. I'm speaking with uh, probably over 100 VPs and CROs every year, and I'm right now as part of this profession. Um, but and I see the same pattern as well again and again. So it's all the time. Enterprise is sexy. It's like the shiny thing that everyone wants to go after. It's the big logos. Everyone wants them ahead of their next fundraising. Every board pushes for enterprise, and it's not because they want the higher ACV, but they also want that logos. They think that it would help bring that growth fund, but no one kind of really thinks critically about this and what it means for the business to really go enterprise. I think most companies can go a little bit more upmarket, but the expectation that, hey, you'll now start selling to Apple or to Oracle or to Salesforce, and that's kind of the kind of leads that you go after. I think that's what's really killing companies. Like, we're going up market, but I think that's where it really gets difficult. And the things that I typically hear, I posted about this and really like what are the 5 biggest lies. So the first one is really people are saying, okay, we'll just use the same product and it will work up market. Um, it won't. Okay, I can see it from Align. We know this because, good thing that we're not trying. We know, like, we're going after the mid market. We started SMB a little bit mid market. We're going more mid market, more small, medium enterprise, but we won't try to sell to Oracle. We won't try to sell to 10,000 employees or more, right? Because I know that the buyer persona is going to be completely different. We're selling to the VPs of sales and CROs today, sometimes to enablement and RevOps, but there it's going to be all like, hey, speak of RevOps. Like, it's all going to be heavily RevOps led, and RevOps tech stack at that level is so much different than the tech stack that we're competing with right now. And their requirements in terms of the governance and settings and integrations is going to be so much different. So we just know it's just closing a deal like that will just kill our roadmap probably for a quarter, right?
right.
Again and again and again. So that's one thing that people think that they can just take the same product. Second thing, they just think, okay, our sellers are good mid-market sellers. Some of them have maybe done enterprise. Let's just go and try to get them to close. Let's just try to bring that bigger logos. But the reality is that even if they can learn, there's no way that they can really run pure large enterprise deals at the same time as running really quicker mid-market, and definitely not SMB deals. So that hybrid is just, even if they have the skills and they can really be good at both, it's just you're switching hats all the time. It's like you're, on the operating table, trying to both, bring your tools and run the actual operation, the surgery, right? So another thing is they're thinking about, okay, let's just bring an Oracle AE or Salesforce AE. I don't want to, and it's not a negative thing, right? They're great, but the thing is they're just so used to multi-million-dollar deals, and the pace is so slow that you can find yourself like in a 9-month ramp, okay, or even worse. And during all that time, they'll go and tell you, hey, yeah, we have a forecast for a POC. We're getting really, really close with Apple and it's going to be a huge POC. And then that POC is for free. And then you have 6 more months to show results during the POC. So you can just solve it in a second by bringing some of these whale hunters. And I think the last thing is a lot of companies think, okay, we'll really work on our sales skills, we'll really do all of these things, but then it does not end with sales. If you bring Apple as a customer and you don't have the same level of skills after the deal is signed, then you won't keep Apple as a customer.
Right.
And if you won't keep Apple as a customer, your name is going to be ruined at the enterprise level, right? And like, there's nothing worse than bringing that logo, putting it on your website, maybe even doing a small case study, and then half a year later, there's going to be some changes over there, and then because you're a customer success is not really an account manager that knows how to manage an account at that level, you lose it after a year, and then yeah, it's going to even do more harm than good.
Right. To sum that up, like in a short way, like what's the right way to go up market then?
So it's to really look, first is to look at what is the jump, to really clarify what is that jump that you're trying to make, right? Like we did, right? SMB, a little bit mid-market, to SMB, mid-market, SME, right? To really understand, map it out, understand what is that market, who's the ICP there, or the buyer, different buyer persona, how does the competition look like, what are going to be the requirements, how are we going to market to them, right? That's another thing. Like marketing, I didn't talk about that. Marketing is so different. Like a CXO at a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar company, right, in revenue, will not take your demo, right? They'll not take your outbound call. They'll meet you at a fancy dinner or some kind of referral. So all these things are very different. So first define who is that market that you're going to go after. Then, you need to start thinking about, do your reps right now have the right skills? So you need to really focus on leveling up that complex selling skills. Another one is to think about pricing. Maybe your pricing should be different at that level. I would definitely think about specialization. Do I have enterprise SDRs? Do I have a marketing that can penetrate the enterprise market? So you need to start specializing post-sales, pre-sales, and to start doing it slowly, not in one day, not to kind of bring big targets and say, okay, that's it. Right now, next quarter, we're going to just go and bring these bigger logos. So take it one step at a time. And I think another big change is that you're moving really from building a sales team to building a sales company. Okay. And I'll explain what I mean by that. I think that, a sales team is, okay, I have PLG, we have marketing, we have leads, there are multiple machines, and the marketing can really drive the PLG funnel. And my VP sales is, I'll let her go and take care of the leads and of closing deals and everything. But when you're moving into the enterprise, it's really, right now, the entire company needs to sell. Okay. And it's not that they need to appear in every sales call and you can pull all the time your VPs and C-levels into all of these calls, but all of them needs to start having that sales mindset, because your organization is going to change. You're going to get much more requests from customers, and you really will need to go and fulfill them. It's not okay, let's just submit a ticket, let's add them to the hundreds of feature requests that you're getting. It's, hey, we have a 500K deal on the table that wants us to build this. What do we do? Right?
Right.
So it's now everyone are talking about the deals all the time. They're joining war rooms, they're joining calls, you're brainstorming, you're You're solving big technical issues, so you really need to build that DNA first as CEO at the management level, but it really needs to also become kind of workflows, ongoing processes that you create. Like we do a war room, okay? Like every week I join a war room with our sales team where it's only the bigger deals. And then I all the time tell them, hey, speak with this person, speak with that person. Okay, I'll speak with our my co-founder, our chief product officer about that. They, so both I bring my sales experience, all of that, but it kind of creates that feeling of this is a company priority, and the entire company is really troubleshooting these deals and get to the finish line.
I believe that 100%. And I definitely see it in the work that I do and the teams that I work with all the time. Whatever market you're going after, going up market, or wherever you're focused on, it has to be a aligned effort amongst the coordinated effort amongst the whole team, right? Like when we build like a 3-year vision or a 1-year plan for the company, we do that every year. We recast the 3-year and 1 year. It's really looking at like, where do we want to go, right? Like, where do we actually want to go? And after we know where we want to go, it's like, okay, what do we actually need to do that? And I think it's cross-functional, aligned effort amongst the entire company because, man, I've seen it so many times in early stage companies where they're like, hey, we want to do this, we want to achieve this, and we hire a bunch of salespeople, and then they're like, oh, these salespeople aren't the right people, and then they fire them, and they're like, let's bring a new VP in that actually knows how to do this. And the whole time, it's not about just sales. The problem is, have we gone out and identified our ICP? Have we been building the right product? And do we have the right beachhead of that product to go into that market, right? Like, so when we build like a 1-year plan, one of the things that I'm really like passionate about is let's look at every function of the company, because product matters, marketing matters, sales matters, right? Engineering matters. What are the top 3 to 5 things we need to accomplish in each one of those functional areas, and iterate and talk about so we all understand what we're all focused on, and making sure that we're, once again, I'll use the word over and over again, it's your product name, aligned, your company, right? Like, I think the alignment's so important because you can't have focus until you have alignment, which to me means you can't have focus until we agree on where we're going. We agree on what we need to do. We agree on how we're going to do it. We agree on who's going to do it. Like, all that needs to be aligned in order for us to be able to like run and actually do what we need to do. But again, like early days for me, and I'm talking like 25, almost 30 years ago, I saw it so often where the team was just not aligned, right? And they always thought all the sales issues and problems were in sales. And I would have probably argued that was probably 20% of it. The 80% was we didn't have the right market, we didn't have the right product, we didn't have the right customer success team, or it all kind of flows downhill when things are not aligned, right? So I think it's really interesting what you guys are building.
Yeah, it's like sales own the number, but not all of the problems behind the number, right? So it's the easiest to blame. But yeah, it takes and you don't, and you don't want anyone to, to use excuses, right? So
Right.
but it is a company-wide effort, and the more you go up market, it's just, it's a must, right?
Yeah.
Silo, let's have them take care of sales.
I love that thought, is sales owns the number, but not all the problems behind it. Do you think that's changed much over the years?
No.
Unfortunately not, right?
No, for what I'm hearing, like um, I've not been a sales leader for a few years now. I think there's maybe more awareness. There are more communities. It's being discussed maybe more, but yeah, I keep hearing that the same issues are just there. Sales, marketing also is a rough one. That
Right.
gets a lot of heat and is very misunderstood. I think maybe social is making it better. Maybe people talking about it more and getting, like, it's so much easier with AI. Like, it's so much easier to self-educate. Like, I don't have like I have coaches and advisors today in a few areas, but like most of the times it's just, ChatGPT is my coach. So I think you can get so much advice today there, and with the LinkedIn really becoming so higher quality, so many people are writing thoughtful content, then I think you can get a lot of that there as well. So yeah, maybe that's bringing an impact.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because when I look at our organization too, is like if you think of like sales, we have sales process, sales systems. You think of marketing, they have their systems. Engineering obviously has engineering systems. Product has product management, leadership systems. And you think about all these different systems that we have. And it's some move faster than others. They're kind of like gears, right? Like some are bigger gears moving slower, some are smaller gears, especially marketing. In most like probably SaaS companies, you probably have a very small marketing team. You probably have a big engineering team, a big sales team, right? Like, and some of these other departments might be a little bit smaller, but it's like, how do we connect all those gears together, right? How do we connect those gears together to be working well together? Because a lot of the issues that I think a lot of teams have is that communication between marketing and sales, or between sales and product, or sales and customer success. It's that central piece. And we all have our own systems, but I think we need to kind of like figure out how we can blend those together to really make sure that we all are going in the same direction. So if we don't have those conversations, I always feel like the team's probably going in 15 different directions and they don't even realize it. And at the end of the day, sales is on the line for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it starts like we have a really such great harmony within the management team, and like we're the opposite of everything that I just said, and I think it's yes, there are some processes. I don't think we're doing anything brilliant in terms of processes, like the management, the ongoing workflows, and all of that. I think it's just the right people. I think when you hire the right people, and the DNA of the company is like that, um, and a lot of it, I write a lot on LinkedIn, so I write about that relationship, sales and marketing, and sales. So you know, they kind of see the standards, they hear them a lot, they hear them like the public hears them, so they have to. I think that our managers really, they have to fall in line with, and we have to over, because we're very public, right? We're really sharing
Mm-hmm.
about our business. So I think that creates that expectation out there that this is how we do things, right? We work very, very closely together.
Yeah.
Uh, but it starts with the people. I don't think that's really the reason. It's really the right people.
Yeah. You definitely need the right people, and the right systems will just amplify that. Let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn. You know, you've done a lot of writing on LinkedIn. You have a lot of people that follow you on LinkedIn. You get a lot of engagement on LinkedIn. What are some of the signals that you're getting back from the writing? Like, I mean, there's a lot of messaging out there, but like the stuff that you're writing is getting a lot of engagement. What are you hearing from people? Like, what's relevant right now that signal that you're capturing from the stuff that you're writing about?
LinkedIn is probably the best decision that we've ever made at Line. I think people think about it as a marketing channel. I see it as a growth channel, company-wide growth channel. So in terms of signals, it's everywhere. It's like everything that we do would have been climbing with a rock on our backs. Like it's anyway, it feels like that, but would have even more like climbing with a rock on our backs. Um, if we were an unknown, no name startup. And there's only like, how do you build brand today? This is where your audience is. This is how you build brand, but it's more than brand. It's more than awareness. This is how you create deep relationships, how you stand for something. This is how you're not only known, you're known for something. You're able to, build a narrative, lead the movement, right? And educate your target audience about the problems that you solve, test things. So this is the main space where you can do that. And doing that, affects not only leads. So just as a quick number on leads to close that part for a second, 65% of our leads come from LinkedIn, 65. And that's demos, like straight up demo requests and signups. We have PLG sales as well. But beyond that, like if I will post right now about a sales job, I will get probably 2,000 of CVs, something like that.
Wow.
Both about marketing, customer success, same. Like I did that 4 months ago. We got for full roles 10,000 CVs. So
That's incredible.
yeah, so hiring leads, VCs, I got inbound CRO investment requests in line, and we brought them in as angel investors, really great ones. We get the VCs are following us all the time, and they know when to follow up with me because they've seen some of the updates already. They feel like they were updated all the time. It helps with retention of employees. Employees all the time feel that Align is out there, it's making noise. They have that connection to the brand and that pride, right? Because we're crushing on LinkedIn and we're getting all of that engagement. So, right, it's really across the board. I can even sales cycle and post sales cycle. So think about the sales cycle. I can go, it's my ICP, right? I write directly to our ICP. So, and to our buyer persona. So if an AE tells me, hey, can you help me multi-thread here, send this, here's a ghost note, it has so much higher likelihood to succeed. And that also awareness and connection, trust that I build on LinkedIn, even if I don't multi-thread, if I go on a call or if I don't even go on a call, that helps that deal move faster. They'll go and say Align versus another company, and they'll feel,
Right.
no, we just trust Align. We see the data. We know they're the best. We got partnership. I got a company that does 200 million ARR. The president of the company reaches out to me on LinkedIn, wanting to partner, wanting to sell our product, and basically we go on a call, and he says, hey, I just know you're the best. I've been following your content for a long time. I know you're the leaders in this market. And yeah, we're going to skip all of the market, research and everything beyond that. I really feel you're the best tool out there if we want to partner.
Is there a content strategy?
I think that an engine, one of my biggest learnings actually from doing this thing and being a founder is that there's no engine. There are engines. You crack an engine and then it fails, it breaks, and then you crack another one and it breaks. So we had a strategy, we keep adapting it, we keep growing it. But overall, we do this with very clear idea of we stand up for something, we've built our strategic narrative, we wrote it down, we know the pillars of content that we write about, and we know that we just want to do it as much as possible. And all the time also find ways to close the loops, to not only talk about problems or beliefs in the future, here's the new world that we believe in, but also tactfully bring in our product. Okay, so it starts with understanding, building that plan. Okay, you write about what do you stand for, what is your strategic narrative, what are the pillars of content that you write about. They should be around just core deep ICP expertise, not ICP, like buyer persona expertise, right? For me, I write both about things that salespeople care about and things that the managers care about. So they're not related to the product. They're just deep, their problems. And then it could be some of these problems, of course, are directly problems that we solve. There's the high level, more strategic narrative type of content, which is the thing we stand for, the future we believe in, right? Our point of view about the problems that are out there that we solve, and it's a different point of view that we've built on a lot of things. And then the third pillar is product content, but you can't just straight out do here's my product, right?
Right.
And it in very nicely. Like last week, I'll give you an example. I wrote like one thing that really is working well for us right now is we're trying to do something that's like case studies, but is not case studies. We're basically trying to find the best stories from our customers that are uh, bigger than life. I call them bigger than life win stories. A go-to-market motion that someone has built, a crazy deal that's just against all odds that was closed, like a lot of these interesting stories. And then within these stories, of course, aligned is being used, but aligned is not the point. Okay, aligned is like this story can live without aligned, right? So you make the story that the Batman and Lion is Robin in this situation, and that's really working well because people are getting so much value from it. Both we're putting our customers at the front, we're cheering from them, we're making them look great, we're using our audience to accelerate them, right, to build their brands, and then they're all sharing and they're all getting excited, and then throughout that story we're baking in their success. It's they use the line, like it's part of that
Right.
story. And I can't not have part of the story. So we can get away with using a lot of how they've used the line in a post, and a post will do very well. I did one of the last week. I spoke with an AE, a deal who closed a $1 million SMB deal in 30 days. Okay, crazy story.
Wow.
And I know it because they told us, hey, she presented the line in front of the entire company, the entire go-to-market team, like 1,000 people, and she presented her case study, her success story of closing this deal, and half of it was aligned. Thanks to Align, thanks to Align. So I had to interview her, and it posted did. The post did, I think, 300,000 impressions, probably 1,500 likes, something like that.
Right.
And I think, reposted it like 4 or 5 times and put ads on it, thought leadership ads. So that's how you kind of build good content engine that constantly creates engine. I post, my VP sales posts, VP marketing, we have thought leaders, creators, influencers, however you call them, they have to use the product. That's another LinkedIn strategy. So everyone that posts about us, it can't be just fluff. It has to, they're really excited. They really know how to use it. And all of that together with LinkedIn paid ads really creates the engine.
Yeah. It's just a win-win. Really, in that scenario. It's good for everybody, I think. And the real life stories, I mean, it's good for those people. And when you have a product that works at the end of the day, and you're talking to people that need it, and it's relevant for them, I think that's just a winning strategy of Line.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I have one last question for you because I know we're up on time, and appreciate talking with you today. But my last question is one of the most important questions you've ever been asked. So I'm glad that you're sitting down. This is really important. It's more of a scenario.
Okay.
So here's the situation. You're trapped on a desert island the rest of your life. You have food, you have water, you have everything that you possibly need on this desert island, but you're trapped there for the rest of your life. However, there's one thing that's missing. You have no entertainment. There's no entertainment on this island. But luckily for you, an old 80s boombox drifts ashore with unlimited batteries, but you can only bring one music album to listen to the rest of your life. What are you going to bring? It can be any era, any genre. I said 80s boombox, but it can be at any genre you choose. But it can only be one album.
Wow, that's a tough one. I think probably it will be Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
That would be a good one. Like The Wall, a specific album that you can think of?
Yeah. The Shine On Me Crazy Diamond. That one.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
just wow, I have so many it's so hard. I have so so many mistakes. One of the toughest questions that I was ever asked. Yeah, I think it has something that you can just because the songs are so long, you just listen to
Right.
them and they fit almost every situation. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those songs just feel so flawless too, right?
Yeah.
So in the moment. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. You answered that one good. I was a little worried, like I think could ask you anything about sales and sales process, agents and AI. I got you a little bit on the music one. So well, I
Yeah.
appreciate you joining me on the show. I can talk to you all day long. So I know we only had a short little period of time. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Enjoyed it and looking forward to seeing it go live.